So the first thing I want to do is I made a master calendar for our main language block that takes 45 minutes every day. And so I had finished it out last year at the end of the school year, but I actually made a full year with all of our no school days already marked off. So I have the full plan. And so I want to print that on cardstock. That way I can stick it into the planner after I punch it with the Happy Planner punch so it actually fits in. So I have spent about 2 full days in my classroom, which is really nice because last year when I was hired, I only had about 3 days to set up my entire classroom before I had to be done and ready for the school year to start. So it's been nice this summer to be able to set aside just a few days here and there to go in and get things prepped, put things up. I was able to add some extra string lights that I wanted to add, and then I actually put whiteboard over top of an old chalkboard and then add some greenery, which I had to order more, so I still have to go back and finish that. But there's just lots of things that I've been able to do this summer that I wasn't able to do last summer. So that's why I enjoy going in and getting it done, because I will feel much more prepped going into the coming school year. That being said, there are a few things that I can do at home that I can make for the new school year, and so I have a list of things that I want to complete before the school year starts. I also have some things that I can buy for my classroom, just aside from my wish list, that's things that I would like to get just so I have them. One of the first things that I would like to make is a no-name paper display or area where they can be hung. I didn't have anything like this last year, and it wasn't a big problem, but I did notice that any no-name papers just kind of ended up in the recycling bin or were never really known that they were no-name papers. The next thing I wanted to do is something for highlighting their name when they turn in their paper. So they turn in their paper to a number sorter, so they're actually already in alphabetical order, but that's not always the easiest way to see who's understanding something or not. So I would like some form of sign that tells them, use this color to highlight your name. If you really know what you're doing, use this number. If you're like, I got it, I'm good. And then one that's like, I don't really know, I need help. That way I can just shuffle through the papers and see who really needs help and who's really good at it. The next thing I would like to have is the way my alphabet is in my classroom. It's not hung on the front wall, it's actually on the side wall. I didn't know how far it would go, so I started way in the front corner. So it only takes up about half of the wall. So I have another half that's just kind of empty. So I was thinking of making like 10 frame displays or something with numbers, whether it's 10 frames or skip counting or something, just to hang on that other side to fill in that dead space. The next thing I want to make is a different way to do their lunch choice. So I actually did it 2 different ways last year, and I didn't mind either way, but it still required me doing work. So the kids make their lunch choice, and then I have to highlight their name in whatever color their lunch choice was, because that highlighted list goes down to the lunchroom. And I felt like I was the one who always had to do that because I didn't assign it to a kid. And instead of assigning it to one kid, I'm hoping to come up with a system that they have the color right there and they just mark their name with whatever color they want. And then I just have to grab the list and look at it to see what their lunch choice is. The next thing I want to do is a way to mark my small group pencils. I never expect them to bring a pencil to small group because a lot of times they'll forget it, or there's always drama with their pencils that they bring. And so I usually have a set of small group pencils at my small group table, but they always end up growing feet and walking away because the students forget that it's the small group pencil. So probably use washi tape or something to mark those pencils. That way they know they're a small group pencil, and then if they do end up walking away with it, they have that visual reminder that it's a small group pencil. The other thing I want to do is create a poster of what your desk should look like. That way they can reference it. Last year I just put it on my slides when it came time for desk cleaning, but then it wasn't up all the time, and I really wanted it to be up all the time. The next thing I want to work on is daily slides. I had the same format and design for all of my slides last year, so I'll likely be using this same style of daily slides, but my morning slide, when they come in the morning, I would like to kind of change it, maybe make it look a little bit different, just update it for the new year. The next thing I didn't have last year was levels of understanding posters. As we went through the year, the kids got used to showing me how they felt about their learning, whether it was thumbs up, thumbs down, 1, 2, 3, 4. We kind of went back and forth between different ways to show me, and they were really flexible about it, and there weren't really any problems with it, but I just thought it might be nice because I use it so much, to actually make posters to display for levels of understanding. Another thing I have to do is update my Meet the Teacher letter. Last year I was a first year teacher, so I would like to go back in and make sure that it does not say that I'm a first year teacher anymore, and then also just update it to make sure that it has current information, make sure that my Meet the Teacher letter is actually combined with our school information or classroom information. And so because systems changed throughout last year, I would like to go in and update it with what I think I'm going to use for this coming school year. The next thing I'm going to update is our classroom responsibilities. Last year I had 4 crews, and to be honest, I can't even tell you what they were. But I had 4 different crews, and with 24 students, or around 24 students, I just rotated about 6 per crew, and then they would stay on it for about 3-4 weeks, and then I would move them to the next crew. Sometimes it was random where I just took them all off and then just put them back on randomly. Sometimes I took one crew and just moved all of the people to the next crew. It kind of varied. So I had a system, but I didn't really stick with the system. The other thing was thankfully my kids were really good about cleaning up anyway. So a lot of times when we got to the classroom responsibility part of the day, everything was pretty much done except for like getting the lunch boxes and making sure that like their desks were wiped off. So going into the next year, I know that time may not be as effective, or it might be even more effective depending on my students, but I would like to kind of change the way they do it. I think I'm going to change it to like 2 crews and have one that's like organization and one that's cleaning. That way it kind of reduces the number of kids that are like, oh, all of our jobs are done. So stay tuned for that. Not positive yet what it's going to be or how I'm going to design it, but hopefully we can get that. The next thing I want to do is I actually want to make a map for a classroom tour. And this is because last year, being that everything was so back to back, I didn't really have time to like think about how I was going to explain everything in my classroom to my students. Thankfully, I had a very flexible class, so I think they were like, I was blessed with them, and they kind of put up with me at the beginning because it was so just like unorganized but also organized. So I think it was as we went, we kind of learned what was the expectation, which, like I said, thankfully my class was very good about it and they didn't really mind. But I would like to make a map of like each part of my classroom, and it might end up being like a list, but a way to kind of explain in like brief details what each part of the classroom is and what the expectations are for it. That way on the first day when I go to show them everything in the classroom, I can look at that and actually make sure that I'm including all of the detail that I want to explain. The next 2 things I would like to do is I have to make some more labels. I actually went in and we organized an entire cabinet with like the clear shoe boxes, and I had labels for all of them. Well, I forgot a couple of the labels for a couple of the boxes, so I have to make sure that I have a label for my rulers and my extra colored pencils. And then we labeled book bins, and I have 2 book bins that sit by my desk, and then I have 2 book bins that actually sit behind my desk, and they're for like PD materials, everyday materials, things like that, and I did not have labels for those, so I have to make labels for those. The next thing I need is a bin for damaged books. So my entire classroom library is actually not personally mine. It was left in my classroom from the teacher before me, which was really convenient because then I did not have to purchase any books outside of like books that I wanted to add to like my personal library for my classroom. So that worked really well. However, there were a lot of damaged books, and I also, because it wasn't like my personal books, I didn't have any system for them. Really don't even know what books were in there except for the books that kids showed me. And so one of the things I need is a bin for damaged books. That way they don't just end up sitting behind my desk. So I have to have that. And then I would like some form of system, whether it's just like chapter books on one shelf, picture books on another. We have a very big media center at our school, which is a huge blessing. And so I very much encourage the students to get their books from the Media Center on our library day. And then those are the books that they can read all the time. So I don't focus as much on my classroom library as some teachers do, but it does need a little bit more organization, including a bin for the damaged books. The next thing I can actually check off my list because I completed it a couple days ago, but behind my desk there's a very narrow tack board, and instead of leaving it blank or filling it with pictures of students or pictures that they drew for me, which I'm not opposed to, but I always feel bad because you keep getting more and more and more, and then students realize that their picture isn't up there but someone else's is. I just like to save that drama. So instead, I decided to make a name sign with my name and then put a ton of pictures with all of my friends and family around it. That way I could hang it up there, and it's kind of like Mrs. Eastman's area, and it has my name, it has pictures, a little bit more personal, and then it's also decorated instead of just empty. One of the last things on my classroom list is actually to laminate some of my border from my tack boards to put on my whiteboard. I haven't decided yet completely if I want it on my whiteboard, but I have quite a bit of extra border because I stocked up on it, and I would like to at least laminate a few pieces, put some magnet on the back so I can try it, see if I like it. The other thing I've seen is border on the outside edge of the smartboard, which I might consider doing, but I would also want it laminated. Just some things that I already checked off my list were book bin numbers. I had to redo those from last year. Also, labeling school supplies. I was going to make a new birthday display. Halfway through the year last year, I actually took down my entire birthday display because it was behind my desk, and I was very sick of it, and I wanted something different, which I actually ended up putting a greenery wall up, which was nice because my classroom doesn't have any windows, and so adding that greenery was just amazing. But then I didn't have the birthdays up, and the kids really missed that. I was shocked at how important that was to the kids. So I wanted to create a new birthday display, but I actually went into Hobby Lobby, and they had a really cheap wooden birthday display with balloons for each month, and then I can just use a whiteboard marker to write their names in the month, which will be perfect. I didn't have to make anything, so I'm super excited about that. The last part of my classroom list is just things that I would like to purchase for my classroom. One of the first things is a step ladder. I have some really high cabinets, and even being almost 6 foot tall, I can't reach them. So a step ladder would definitely be useful. I also wanted a couple of containers. I have some smaller heart words that are laminated, cut, ready to go, but I don't have a bin for them, so I want to get some smaller containers for that. The other thing is just the food that you keep in your classroom throughout the year that doesn't stay in there during summer. So some snacks just in case students forget theirs, mints, anything extra like that to add. I purchased a small cordless lamp for my desk this year. It's actually a rechargeable one, which is super nice. I rarely ever have the overhead lights on, so it will be very nice to have a little lamp on my desk. I also got a new rug for my library area. With all that being said, there is still a lot to do for my classroom. So I hope that you stay tuned for more videos, more classroom setup. This is just a small portion of everything that I am accomplishing over the summer months. And trust me, I am still enjoying my summer very much so, but just enjoying also the classroom setup part of me that I really do love. Thanks for watching.